Good evening, parents and guardians. I have a lot of information that I would like to share with you, and I thought it would be easier to do it through video versus a really long email. And I do have some notes here to try to keep me on task and focus with the points that I want to hit. So if I keep looking down, that's why. So here we go. We are all going into a new unknown territory, and we are all being affected by this virus, some more than others. Some of us have really serious health concerns. Some of you are in that high risk category. Some have been affected this with their job. Some maybe have lost their jobs. Some are having to work at home instead of in the office. My husband works for a small business, and his last day of work was on Friday. So we're all being affected and impacted by this in different ways. Our children are at home now. That's different to be around them much longer than usual, which is a blessing, but can also be challenging. However, even though we are all being affected by this, we are in this together. None of us expected at the beginning of the school year that we would be doing virtual school. I never thought that I would be teaching my students from my home, and I know you never expected that you would be having to help them in this process. So we weren't expecting it, but we are not alone in this. We're in it together. I want to help you as best I can, and most of all, God is with us in this. He is the God that doesn't change even though our circumstances do. And this does not take him by surprise. And he promises us in his word that he will never leave us or forsake us. And that gives me a lot of peace amidst the unknown. I know many of you probably have questions and are nervous about what online learning will look like. Hopefully I can communicate some information with you to help you expect what's going to be happening tomorrow, our first day of online learning, and this next week coming. Okay, so first of all, everyone should have received an email from Mr. Ryan giving your child's Google account login and password. That is how you need to join Google Classroom. You have to sign into your Google account first, your child's Google account, and then through that get to Google Classroom. You all should have had an email sent to you, and it walks you through the process of how to do that. If you have not joined the Google Classroom yet, please do that as soon as this video is over. It is really important that we go ahead and make sure that your child is in there instead of tomorrow and maybe there's some kinks and you're not able to join. So go ahead and get on that as soon as possible. What to expect big picture. This is not going to be a typical in the classroom getting all of our subjects and content in, because even though I am able to teach it, some of you who are still working a full-time job cannot work full-time and then help your child with all their educational needs. So we are focusing on doing 4 subjects or 4 lessons a day, and that will be Bible, it will be math, English, and reading. To kind of give you an idea of what Bible will be like, it's not going to be Bible stories, how the curriculum usually has it. Instead, it's going to be a short devotional that I share with the students, and I really encourage you to sit in and be a part of that. I would love for your child to do that first thing before the other subjects, just to kind of get our heart and mind focused on what's the most important, the Lord. So that's what we'll be doing for Bible, except for next week I will be doing Bible lessons about the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ leading up to Easter. For math, I talked to the 6th grade math teacher and asked him to look over the remaining chapters in our math book of what he thought was essential for my fifth graders to know moving up into middle school. And he said that I needed to hit on multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals. So that's what we're going to go over in the fourth quarter. And then for English, I talked to Mrs. Morrison. She's the sixth grade English teacher. Asked her the same thing. What do my fifth graders need to know to be ready for sixth grade? And she told me they need to be able to write a good paragraph. So that is what I'm really going to hit in this fourth quarter. We're going to focus on just good sentences. We've been working on that. Some, that is a strength and you write very well. Some of you, that's an area that needs improvement. You need to make sure that you're not just writing a complete thought, but that you're making it interesting and you're adding good descriptions to your sentence. So we'll be focusing on good paragraphs right before we lead into our research paper. And then also after our research paper, we'll be doing some book reviews. So this fourth quarter is going to be focused on writing, not so much the breakdown of the parts of speech. So just so you're aware. And then reading, the students will be reading independently in their reading book and then doing their workbook pages. In class, I would always read the stories aloud or have the students read aloud, and we would do that together. I just don't see how me recording reading the story aloud to the students would be very beneficial. I think they probably wouldn't read themselves and they would just watch me and listen to me. So they're going to read independently. If they want to read aloud to you, or if you want to read with them a page and then them read a page to you, you can be creative with that. I think that would maybe actually help them so they're not always having to read silently. I think reading aloud could be very beneficial for their comprehension. So that's what reading will look like. Now let's focus in on this week that starts tomorrow. First of all, everything is going to be review. Whew! Don't need to stress about any new material. Everything this week will be review. And then I expect that there's going to be some hiccups this first week, especially tomorrow, as we're trying to get the classroom set up, people to join, getting apps downloaded when work is done. How do we upload that and get that to me? I'm just expecting there to be hiccups, and that's okay because this is new and we're learning it together. It's new for you, it's new for me. So let's just be patient with each other. Let's be gracious and we'll get through it. We'll get there. So the first week is just review. Also, just again, I'm going to be really flexible this first week and the first couple days. Most of the time when things are assigned, they will be due the day of. However, that will not be the case for Monday's work. Everything assigned tomorrow, Monday, will be due Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. So, and I'm not assigning anything new on Tuesday. So really, your child has 2 days to complete 1 day's work. I just want to relieve the stress and the pressure of working through this. It's not going to be helpful if you have high anxiety or stress over this. We'll get through it. So whatever is assigned tomorrow will be due Tuesday, and there will be no new assignments on Tuesday. And then we'll start some new assignments Wednesday, and they'll be due Wednesday. When things are assigned, they'll actually be posted live into Google Classroom the day before by 5 p.m. So for example, all of tomorrow's work is already live for you guys in Google Classroom. It went live by Sunday, 5 p.m. How that can be beneficial to you, parents that are still working full-time and you're thinking, how am I going to get through all my students' stuff to help them? You can actually do it the day before, look over it, and maybe you can kind of have an idea and help them with some things before they do their classwork the next day to relieve some stress there. For this week, since it's review, I'm just going to share some devotionals, and then for math, we're going to focus on geometry. We actually finished the whole chapter for geometry, and I was expecting the students to come back and give them a test, but that didn't happen. We've been off for 2 weeks. So I'm actually just going to go back in that geometry chapter and review polygons, perimeter, and area, circumference. It's not new. They might forget a little bit of it, but that's what my instructional videos are for, and it should just trigger and help them. For English, we're going to focus on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. Again, just to nail down what is a sentence and how can I make it better. For reading, they're going to be reading some excerpts from Pilgrim's Progress, which I actually read them that story in the first semester, and they all really loved it. Well, they get to read 2 excerpts from Pilgrim's Progress themselves, so I'm looking forward to that. So that's what this week will look like. For tomorrow, let me share more about Google Classroom. Google Classroom allows you to start your school day at whatever time works best for your student and for your family. For those of you that have multiple kids, that might be challenging depending on how many devices that you have. So maybe Johnny does his work at 9 o'clock to 10, and then Sally can do hers from 10 to 11. So there's flexibility. The instructional videos and the assignments are on there to do it their own timetable. All assignments will be due the assigned day by 11:59 p.m. So on Wednesday, all the work that is assigned Wednesday will be due Wednesday by 11:59 p.m. The only exception is Monday's work will be due Tuesday. On Google Classroom, the Stream tab is very similar to your Facebook news feed. I don't want you to be overwhelmed by this platform and think, this is so confusing, I don't know what to do. Most of you have a Facebook account. It's like your news feed. That's where I will post things, or you'll see assignments, things that I post. That's on the Stream tab, the very front, what you open. And then the Classwork tab, that's where all of the assignments will be organized. Students may comment on posts. However, if they decide to say something that I don't feel is appropriate, I can mute them and they will no longer be able to comment on posts that I make or other students. So just be aware of that. Maybe just give a good word of encouragement to your student to make sure that they're not just goofing off and just trying to be funny, but that what they are saying in the Google Classroom is appropriate. Also, something that would be really helpful if you got a head start on would be to make sure that you have some apps. And if you look at the attachment with this email, I have that on a visual for you, but you'll want to make sure that you have Google Classroom, Google Drive, and Google Meet downloaded on your smartphones or tablets if you're using them. I'm not positive Google Classroom works on tablets. We have a mini iPad, and my husband said that Google Classroom wasn't compatible, at least to the version that we had. So, but all 3 of those should be on your desktop and laptop because they're all a part of the Google Suite. So if your student has signed into his Google account or her account, all of that is right there. Let me mention one more app that I think will be important for you. If you have an iPhone, you already have the Notes app, and that will allow you to take a picture of your child's worksheet or notebook paper. It'll scan it into a PDF, and then you can upload that into your Google Drive and then share it into Google Classroom for me to check. Those of you that don't have an iPhone, you can download the app Tiny Scanner. It is a free app and it does the exact same thing. That will be very important because your child can do their pages, but I need to get it back. So we're going to try to use that platform. Google Meet, just to give you a little bit of information about that, that's the platform that we're going to use for me to do live chats with the students or live meetings for questions to help. And then I have also attached to this email my office hours, when you can contact me, when I'm planning on making myself available in those live chat meetings to help. So please read those. It would be very informative for you. I'm here for you guys. I want to help in any way that I can. I will most likely create a parent survey in the Google Classroom to have you fill out in regards to what technology you guys have, devices, Wi-Fi, printers, etc., because that would just be helpful for me to be more aware of your situation. So if I need to make some changes for your family, I'm happy to do that. Let's stay positive through this whole experience. Let's be as positive as we can for our kids and make this a great and fun experience for them. Already they have experienced some disappointment with just not being able to be with their friends. Some have experienced disappointment with not being able to do any field trips this year. I'm so bummed about that. I feel so bad, and I know that they're bummed about it. So let's make this positive as best we can for them. If we've been given lemons, let's make lemonade, and let's just do the best we can. For those of you that have multiple students, please only speak positive about your children's teachers. Please don't compare them. We are different individuals with different personalities, different teaching styles. We have different forms of communication. Some of us prefer to communicate through email. Some use Remind. Some use Dojo. Some of us, we just communicate differently. I'm sure some of you have maybe already heard from your other child's teacher. Maybe some of you haven't heard from your other child's teacher. We're all over the spectrum here, and that's okay because God made us differently. And this I do know, that God gave every single one of your children the teacher that he wants them to have for this year. So please just be gracious and don't compare teachers. We're going to use different platforms. Some may use Google Meet or Google Hangout or choose Zoom, and that's okay. I have 3 kids. I have a 3rd grader who has Mrs. Whiteheart. I have a kindergartner who has Mrs. Bullard, and then I have a 3-year-old. Mrs. Whiteheart and Mrs. Bullard, they're going to use probably different forms of communication or platforms than me, and that's okay. And I want to be flexible with them. I'm not going to say, well, why aren't they using this instead? I'm going to be flexible, and I'm going to go with what they are asking of me to do to make their job as easy as possible. And let me just say, the elementary teachers, we are very close-knit and we work closely together, and we have been through this 2 weeks, and we are all working so hard and endlessly to provide the best education for your child and to make this the best experience. So please just know that we love you guys and our families, and we are for you. I know this is a really long video, but I just want to end with this. Let me encourage you with this verse. It's a verse that I keep going back to again and again, and it's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 24, and it says, "He who calls you is faithful. He will surely do it." God has called each of us to be a parent or a grandparent, to guide our child's hearts, and then also for me, he's called me to be a teacher. Some of you, he's called you to different occupations, but right now for sure, he's calling each of us to help our child in their education journey. So let's be good stewards of that, and we can be confident not in ourselves, because let me tell you, I am learning a whole bunch right now and I can feel inadequate, but he can supply everything that we need because he's called us to do it, and he is the one that is faithful to do it in us and through us. He's with us. We're not alone. We're in this together. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward to further growing your child's education to the end, and to end this school year strong. God bless.